Joy Faraci and her husband, Tom Faraci, have, for the most part, have never gone public with their story. Joy's brother was one of Sammy the Bull, Gravano'S victims. And that was the young boy who was shot. He was innocent, wasn't involved in the life.
The cover-up that went from the NYPD to the FBI to the Justice Department to the judge, everyone involved, they covered this up.
How long goes by before you hear something from law enforcement about the murder?
Between 15 and 17 years.
Okay.
And that was the FBI rang our bell, told my mother that they know who murdered Alan, but he's in witness protection now.
When he started cooperating, your brother's name was not even mentioned in court papers. He was mentioned only as John Doe.
One of the newspapers, they put the 19 victims, all their names and who they were, and the last number 19 was unidentified male.
That's an outright lie because they knew exactly who the victim was.
Yes. They didn't want their star witness to be a child murderer. If Gotti's lawyers knew that Alan was just turned 16 and he was an innocent victim, don't you think that would have hurt Gravano'S testimony during that trial?
Sure. They would have impeached him on the witness stand on cross-examination. Absolutely. You think the FBI is going to protect you as a family of a victim? I mean, you guys are just innocent. Your brother was an innocent bystander.
Right.
And Variety said, new show, FX just signed Sammy the Bull Gravano to talk about his crimes, his 19 murders. And I'm like, who would want to even do business with this guy?
It's very hurtful to know that there are people that will just step on dead bodies to earn some money.
And the public doesn't know the truth. And the public has to know the truth about him. They got to boycott him as a brand. They got to boycott anybody behind the show. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Street Attorney Podcast. I'm your host, Gerard Marrone, and we are joined this evening by a few very, very special guests. I actually have a co-host for the first time, my colleague and associate fellow attorney, Elio Forcina, who's to my left. Elio is an attorney that works out of my office. Great guy, kind of deals with the streets like I do as well. And Elio's a former Marine, very good friend, old friend, and I'm very happy to have Elio here tonight.
Well, thank you, Gerard, for inviting me.
My pleasure. And we're very honored for these two guests. Joy Faraci and her husband, Tom Faraci, have, for the most part, have never gone public with their story. And Joy's brother was one of Sammy the Bull, Gravano'S victims. And that was the young boy who was shot. He was innocent, wasn't involved in the life, and he was an innocent victim. It was a case of mistaken identity. And Alan Kaiser was murdered by Sammy the Bull Gravano on August 5th, 1977. So I'm very honored. I'm pleased to have Joy and her husband Tom here tonight to share their story. Welcome, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, Elio.
It's my pleasure, and thank you for sharing. So, where could we begin? I mean, it's been, 45 years, right? 47 years?
47. It will be 48 years, August 5th.
And Alan was your little brother?
He was my only brother.
Little brother,
yeah. Yeah, younger brother. And it was just shy. He just turned 16 on June 26th. He just turned 16. So he was barely even 16 when he got killed.
And this was in 1977, the summer, and this is in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so take me back. Take me back to, how old are you in 1977?
I was, I think I was...
You were 20. You were 19.
19, yes.
Gonna be 20 in July.
And you were dating Tom, by the way, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
We met in New Utrecht High School when we were 15, 73.
That's wonderful.
So
And I tell you, and we've spoken so many times, even off camera, and you have a wonderful story, a wonderful family, 4 beautiful girls, and really, the fact that you guys are together so long and have such a tight knit family is just beautiful. So I just wanted to say that as well.
Thank you.
You know,
I can't leave out my 11 grandchildren.
And one on the way.
Good. Congratulations. That's right. We talked about that yesterday. That's right.
Yeah.
So take me back. I mean, I know I spoke to one of your daughters in the past as well with you, and she tells me about you and how special you are to her, and how this just took such a piece of your heart out, took such a piece of your soul out, and even to this day, of course, you miss your brother. You know, he was an innocent kid who was killed. His life was snuffed out at 16, his whole life ahead of him. Really just a senseless act of violence, a mistaken identity by truly just an animal. And really. So tell me about it. Bring me back to that time around the murder.
Let me see now. Help me here. Well, go ahead.
I don't know. You know, it's been a while. It's been going on for such a long time. But you know, we were dating, and you know, Alan he had just turned 16. He was a good kid. I mean,
he was also an artist. He did have paintings in the Brooklyn Museum of Art. He was a Cub Scout. I mean, He was a good kid. He was a good kid. He didn't really do anything wrong. He was a normal 16-year-old kid growing up and dating a girl, and then he just walking home and lost his life to, unfortunately.
It happened. It was very shocking to get a knock on the door. My doorbell rang at my house. 2 friends of mine were at the Del Rio Diner on Kings Highway that night, and they saw the commotion, and they went over and found out that it was Alan. And they came to my house, rang my bell. I was sleeping. It was around 12:30 at night. I'd worked the next day, and I went over there and identified Alan. And for 15 years, nobody knew what happened, why this happened.
Okay, that's very interesting, and that's really a lot. And we're going to really get into that and how the government really just swept the fact that your brother was killed and who really the murderer was. The government really protected Sammy the Bull Gravano for a long, long time. But let's get into that. So, Tom? What's your understanding of what happened? What's your side? What happened? What did you know? The morning of August 6th, 1977.
Well, I know that Alan gets shot. We don't know who it is. We didn't know what's going on. Detectives came and they asked us questions, and it just went away. We buried Alan. Joy's Jewish, so we had the funeral seemed like the very next day. We went to the cemetery, and when we got home from the cemetery, we found out that her grandmother passed away.
Right, yes.
Who lived in
Brighton Beach.
Brighton Beach. So we had to go the very next day back to the same funeral home on Coney Island Avenue, and then back to the cemetery. So it was like one shock after another, and
double whammy.
People that have had someone in their family murdered or die suddenly, tragically, will understand what happens to you. Your life is forever changed, and you're never the same person. Your life's never the same. It's a struggle for many, many months to just try to get back to some sort of normalcy. There's a giant void. I mean, all right, we didn't know who killed him. We didn't know why. He was just gone. And Joy and her mom, they had to learn how to live to go on and put this behind them, which is never easy. It never goes away.
I'm so sorry.
I have a question for you, because I've really looked into this story, but I never really. What was Alan like as a teenage boy? Who was he? What were his hobbies? Like, who was he? Your brother?
He was a joker. He was a good kid. Me and my brother, her mom and dad were separated, and he's grown up in a house with his mom, who was struggling to pay the rent and work, And me and one of my brothers, we took him with us. We paid for him to get in to see Muhammad Ali fight Joe Frazier, the Thriller in Manila. And we were in the theater with a couple other guys. We were punching each other and jumping up and down. Yeah. It was a great fight. He was a good kid. He went with all the kids in the neighborhood. They used to go to Wildwood every summer.
Oh, yeah.
They used to go for all the holidays, 4th of July, Labor Day, and he was with them. He was tall for his age.
He looked a lot older than 16.
Yeah. All the guys in the neighborhood liked him. And they knew he was Joy's brother. So he was accepted into, the neighborhood. Everybody liked him. He hung out with everybody.
Joy, I know your mom has since passed away, but tell me about how the murder affected your mom.
Oh, she was devastated. That was her baby, her only son. She was devastated. She never recovered from it, really. I can't explain, but I can only imagine what she felt. If I feel like this and that's my brother, I could only imagine what she felt like knowing that she lost her son, her only son.
And it was only you and your mom left at that point, right? You had no other siblings.
No.
So it was you and mom.
Yeah. Well, I have an older sister, but she's
been she's been out of the family for a while. She lives in Florida also, but we haven't seen her. And she wasn't living at home.
She never lived. Yeah.
So, let me ask you this. So for a long time, maybe decades, your family really had no answers. Is that correct?
No. That's correct. Nobody
Not
knew.
a clue. Not a clue.
And what about NYPD in the 1970s? 1977? What did they do? What kind of investigation? Did they turn anything up? I mean,
nothing.
This shooting happened basically. Let me give a little bit of background. You correct me if I'm wrong. You obviously know the situation much better than I do. But my understanding was that it was 3 men in a car that basically drove up to someone, and that Alan was in the vicinity, and Alan was shot with a shotgun, if that's correct. And this is almost in the daytime, I believe it was, time of day.
No, it was nighttime.
It was nighttime.
It was nighttime.
So this is a shooting. Out. This is a shooting that it was almost a gun battle between a few different groups, let's say, between 2 or 3 different people. That's my understanding of the murder. And again, there's so many different stories out there, so I don't know if I have the right version, right?
No.
But, okay, so we'll talk about that. But the point being, this happened in the middle of the street, when I'm sure that there's witnesses and so forth. So tell me what happened that day. How did the shooting happen? And what did the police do at that time? Answer those 2 questions.
Well, when the police came, it was late at night, I don't know, 1:00 in the morning. They rang the bell. They came, they stepped in, they go, sorry to tell you, but, your son was murdered. After that, it's a blank for me. I don't remember nothing. I just punched the walls and cried, and I couldn't imagine.
See, like Joy is saying, you're in shock. You're in denial, shock.
It's surreal.
Everything.
Right.
So for her to remember exactly, it's not easy. But I could tell you that 2 or 3 days after we buried Alan, one detective came to the house and interviewed her mother separate, then interviewed me and Joy together. And he's asking us, do you know anybody that would want to hurt Alan? And I'm like,
I remember.
Yeah, I remember. And I'm like, no, I don't know. I mean, I know everybody in the neighborhood. If anybody had a problem with him, they would have come to me, and nothing. I don't have a clue. We don't know what happened. So the police were saying they don't have a clue. After that, we never heard another word. I don't know, maybe her mother did, but her mother would try to get information, but she never got anything. We never heard of any investigation or what the NYPD was doing.
That's amazing. That's truly sad.
Right.
I come from a family of police officers. My dad was a cop. My brother was a cop. My nephew was a cop. And I never been in trouble. I never been arrested in my life. I did the right thing my whole life, and then the cover-up that went from the NYPD to the FBI to the Justice Department to the judge, everyone involved, they covered this up.
All right, that's important. Let me ask you about that. So how long goes by before you hear something from law enforcement about the murder? How many years pass?
That was about between 15 and 17 years.
Okay.
And that was the FBI rang our bell and told my mother that they know who murdered Alan, but he's in witness protection now. So there was nothing that they could do, and there's nothing she can do.
So there was no justice?
There was no justice.
There was no accountability?
No accountability, no justice.
The FBI came and said, here's who did it, and there's nothing you could do about it. He's a government witness now. And they walked out. End of story.
That was it.
Did they tell you the witness's name?
Did they tell you who did it at the time?
They told her mother. We weren't there. They went to her mother's house. We were married with children at this time. Mm-hmm. But as far as we know, I think they must have told them, but the name didn't ring a bell to me. I never heard of Sammy Gravano. Don't forget now, I grew up, the both of us, she grew up 5 blocks from me. She was on 19th Avenue and 69th Street. I'm on 74th and 19th Avenue. So we're both on 19th Avenue. And you had Carlo Gambino lived in the neighborhood. Joe Colombo lived, Carmine Persico. They all lived in the neighborhood. Jimmy Brown was my neighbor on 74th Street. So, I heard of these guys, but I never heard of Sammy Gravano before.
No.
So nope. And also, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding from a legal point of view was that when he started cooperating, your brother's name was not even mentioned in court papers. He was mentioned only as John Doe.
Right, unidentified victim.
Right.
That's the thing. So in the front page of one of the newspapers, they put the 19 victims, all their names and who they were, and the last number 19 was unidentified male.
Right, and that's a lie. The FBI, that's an outright lie because they knew exactly who the victim was.
Yes,
amazing.
The FBI, the prosecutors, the newspaper, they all knew who it was.
And now, did they ever? Now, fast forward a bit. Gravano starts cooperating with the government. He becomes a government witness. Does anybody reach out to you from law enforcement, any prosecutor, any FBI agent about, a victim statement or testimony about, did anybody talk to you the way I'm talking to you as a lawyer?
No.
That's incredible.
Nobody.
That's incredible.
You know what, Gerard?
It was well protected.
They didn't want. Think about this. I put this together now, through my own thinking and I kept scratching my head. Why did they put down unidentified male? They know who Alan was. But when you go back and you think now, during Gotti's trial, they did this. They gave this guy a pass for 19 murders because they wanted to get John Gotti. They couldn't get him any other way. He killed 19 people. And they gave him only just a couple of years, and they let him go out free with his money and a new name, a new identity. Why didn't he serve life sentences? Yeah, we'll give you a break. We won't put you in Alaska in a prison so your family could come. That's what you're going to get if you not you're going to be a free man. I mean, think about that. 19 families are hurting.
5 years.
I don't care who the other people were or what they did for a living. It doesn't matter. How do you justify? Now, they didn't want their star witness to be a child murderer. If Gotti's lawyers knew that Alan was just turned 16 and he was an innocent victim, don't you think that would have hurt Gravano's testimony during that trial?
Sure, they would have impeached him on the witness stand on cross-examination. Absolutely, absolutely, and it's really shocking. It's so shocking on so many different levels. First and foremost, that you think the FBI is going to protect you as a family of a victim. I mean, you guys are just innocent. Your brother was an innocent bystander. And then throughout the whole process, your mom, even you, Tom, and you, Joy, of course, are getting just victimized again and again and again, over and over. And there's just, there was never accountability. There was never remorse from Gravano. It's just, it's outrageous. It really is outrageous.
You know, he does a show claiming he apologized, which that never happened. Then in the same breath, calling my brother a junkie.
A drug addict.
He
committed suicide.
He ran at him. He committed suicide. That was a horrible thing. I had to listen to that. Yeah. That was horrible. Horrible.
No one can imagine what it's like to lose a 16-year-old family member. But what's it like?
It's unbelievable that he would, I'm going to go take a nap and then I'll kill the MF. Is that the way you do it?
What's it? I'm sorry, Joy. What's it like when going through such pain of losing a little brother who was an innocent little boy, and then seeing him, Sammy Gravano, walking around like a peacock in the media? How does it make you feel, and how would it made your mother feel?
Well, thank God my mother didn't have a cell phone to see all what went on. She was very old-fashioned that way. It's like me. I don't know how to work it. But when I do see him, what is it on? Is it YouTube that I go to?
It's YouTube, sure.
To look?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there he is. Every time I turn it on, he pops up. But yet he has me blocked on everything.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to face you, I'm sure. But he'll see this. I promise you that. I promise you that. So let's fast forward a little. Your family never got any type of justice. As a matter of fact, you just were victimized over and over and over again. Gravano testifies. He testifies in multiple trials. And you can't even say he gets a sweetheart deal. I don't even think he really did 5 years. Most of the time he did was just with was like in an FBI like a camp or whatever. He's with the FBI agents for years. He was in a hotel room, right? He was working out. They had him running. He got to be buddies with the agents. The hypocrisy, guys, the layers and layers of hypocrisy is unbelievable. And there's so many reasons why it's so important for the world to know the story, okay? You fast forward, and this guy, just nothing ever happens to this guy. He just gets a pass, right? And let me say a little bit of a background. So we met a few weeks ago, maybe about a month and a half ago, and it was myself, Elio, a couple of members of the Italian American Civil Rights League, which is really spearheading and protecting your family and going up after against Gravano and going against the FX television show that's in production. And we'll talk about that in a little while as well. But we had Dina Melito on, who was Louis Melito's daughter. We had Laura Garofalo. So we had a lot of victims, okay, of their dads were victims. Their dads were in the life. But again, nonetheless, a life is a life.
Right.
And on that call, you said, right, I'm ready. And I'm the one that wants to be the face of this. And I thought that was very, very brave, you know. Why now? What's different? Because you guys never really talked publicly about this.
Well, I had no help. I honestly, I couldn't afford a lawyer or have anybody represent me. Not that anybody would want to fight Gravano and represent me. They might have been scared. I don't know.
People are afraid. Till this day, they still think there's something to be afraid of. But we were raising a family. We don't have the means or the vision on how to go about it. Yes, we were upset. We were angry. We've been angry. We've been following this She's gotten in touch. She became friends with Angel Gotti, and that's been good for her. She has a friend who knows what it's like to lose a brother.
Yeah.
You know, and they bonded together. And, you know, we just didn't have the right venue or the right people set up.
Well, I can tell you, we're not. I can tell you,
attorneys.
We're definitely not afraid.
Americans.
We're definitely not afraid.
Right?
He put. So let's fast forward a little. So he does his 5 years, and Laura Garofalo spearheads a Son of Sam lawsuit against Gravano. And in New York State at the time, Son of Sam wasn't really that strong. Legally, it wasn't that strong. And ultimately, yeah, he had come out, Gravano came out with a book. He did a Diane Sawyer interview. And, you know, he came out, he had plastic surgery. He was on, you know, with a cigar and, you know, this, no regard. And again, he killed 19 people or was involved in 19 murders. And to me, if you pull the trigger or not, you're still involved. Okay, if anything, he was worse in a lot of the homicides because he spearheaded it, and he was the leader. He was the leader of the conspiracy. Right. Okay, and I can tell you,
Alan's case.
Right, absolutely. And I can tell you, I get clients that do life in prison for just being part of a violent crime. Life in prison, right. 20 years in prison, 30 years in prison, where this guy got nothing.
And he shows no remorse because he walks around with a T-shirt that says 19 for his 19
yeah, Bull
victims.
19, right. Exactly.
When you see that, Joy, how does that make you feel?
I saw that. I couldn't believe he had Bull 19. Now they claim he took it down and he's not selling it no more.
Well, it's like that's part of the course.
I was furious. How could you walk around with Bull 19? You're so proud.
This guy has never shown any remorse. He tried to say he apologized to us, and he went on and did a show and said in the apology on his show where he claims he spoke to family and he tried to, and apologized, which he never spoke to us.
Right.
And he goes on to say, well, the kid I think he was a drug addict or he was on drugs and he committed suicide because he ran at us. Yet, Joy went through hell and high water after 40 some odd years and got the autopsy report. Alan was shot with a shotgun in the back of the head. And the autopsy says shotgun blast to the
brain,
to the back of the head.
Incredible. I'm so sorry.
He did a show where he blamed his friend Melito, saying he was there, but Melito pulled the trigger.
No.
However, what happened was, while he was testifying against people, defense attorneys across the city were investigating, and people from Bensonhurst, that were friends with him and his crew that were friends with him and Melito, were coming in to tell the defense what they knew. And they were told that Melito had a falling out with him because Melito was upset that he killed an innocent boy in his presence. And that's one of the reasons why he murdered Melito, because they had a schism, which was over Melito being upset with him about that homicide. So here we have, here we have a young boy, innocent young boy getting murdered. And then he has a fight with his friend over it because his friend is upset at the tragedy. His friend is supposedly an organized crime figure. He's outraged and upset that Gravano did this, and then he goes and kills him. And now, years later, he's walking around with a 19 T-shirt with no respect
He also said that he had to go to a meeting in Jimmy Brown's club on 86th Street with Paul Castellano, and they all laughed about it, saying that you're such a tough guy that you went on a hit with a broken foot. Go home and get rest. They would have never told him that. They would have ripped him. You killed an innocent person, and the person you wanted to kill got away. He's such a lion. He's a lying piece of shit. Yeah. Till this day, he still lies. He don't care about nobody. How anybody could be involved with him and want to give him a TV show. I mean, it's just absurd. When does it end? Everybody or anybody that's had somebody in their family murdered, you want justice. Yeah. You see people in courtrooms go after the killer to try to kill him if they could get their hands on him. and this guy gets away with it, and he just goes chirping. Now they want to make a movie for him, and I mean, where does it end? Nobody has any.
It doesn't end.
Anymore.
So let's go. Let me tell you a little procedurally the legal history of it, right? Which I know you guys know, but for the audience's benefit. So, Laura Garofalo, Eddie Garofalo's daughter, spearheads a lawsuit, a Son Sam lawsuit, when Gravano comes home. Ron Kuby, who's a very famous, even now, very famous attorney, the attorney with the ponytail. He's the attorney.
Guy.
Yeah, good guy. Kuby's a good guy.
No, he's a nice guy.
Yeah,
he came up under one of the best
Alan
attorneys
Kaiser.
ever.
Alan Kaiser,
Yes,
right?
William Kunstler.
Civil rights guys, good guys. Where their hearts are in the right place. And Gravano actually put a hit on Ron Kuby, and it was a real hit. Like it was, the FBI uncovered evidence that he took steps to carry out the hit of the lawyer. So maybe I'm putting myself in a little bit of a risk now, but I tell you one thing: we're not afraid of him. Okay, I'm not Ron Kuby. I'll tell you that much. I came from the same streets as Sammy the Gravano. I have my own scars. I have my own scars from the streets, so I'm not afraid. Okay, and I can promise you, he and I are going back and forth a little bit, right? But I'm not gonna lower myself to his level. And then once that case, it didn't really go anywhere, that Son of Sam case. But what happened was, the Attorney General in Arizona, because he was hiding out in Arizona in quote unquote witness protection, she was able to take $400,000, I believe, from his book sales. Or his signing bonus of the book, and that $400,000 was split between maybe 9 or 10 of the victims that were the plaintiffs in the show. Yeah. Which is nothing. It's just, it's the point. The point is at least something was done. Okay,
right.
That point from that point forward, that's when he begins the ecstasy ring, where he's selling ecstasy to children with his kids. Puts his children. His son, his daughter, his wife, they're all involved in selling drugs.
Mutts.
Right.
They're mutts.
Okay. So now he's doing that while he's a government cooperator. He's supposed to have learned his lesson, redeemed his life. The government gave him a new lease on life. But he comes out and now he's just on the other side of the country dealing drugs, a major ecstasy trafficker, okay? And giving ecstasy to basically children, like kids that were going to clubs and things and raves and things like that. Okay. Right. And I didn't know the details of that, but he just came out with his show about that. All right.
How many more lives did he ruin? With the
Tom, he's probably ruined thousands of lives, not hundreds, not 19. I can tell you that, because behind those 19 victims are hundreds of family members, wives, children, grandchildren, that their lives will be altered, that have been altered, just like you guys know, forever. Forever.
It never goes away.
And the fact that there's not an ounce
who are the people that want to make a movie with him?
Well, so when I heard about this, right, so as you guys know, we revived the Italian American Civil Rights League, right, from the old organization from the 70s, and it's back, okay? And really, I'm here in the capacity, not as a lawyer, but as the vice president of Italian American Civil Rights League, to go after Gravano and to stop him from doing this, okay? So recently, an article came out in Variety magazine, which is kind of like the industry rag. And prior to that, Gravano was really just in that YouTube subculture. He was never really in the mainstream of Hollywood, okay? Right. And Variety said, new show. FX just signed Sammy the Bull Gravano to talk about his crimes, his 19 murders. And I'm like, who would want to even do business with this guy? It's absolutely incredible. And he's got major names. So he's got Antoine Fuqua, who's a director. He's got Terrence Winter, the writer on the project, right? Terrence Winter is the guy who wrote Boardwalk Empire. He's got Nick Pileggi, who wrote the book Wise Guy, who they made the movie Goodfellas about. Okay, and Aaron Kaplan, who owns Kaplan Entertainment, is the production company. And I got to tell you, I don't know if these guys really know who they're getting involved with, that they're really getting involved with the devil. I really don't know if they understand that, or they're just so blinded by making a buck about a sexy story, which is not even sexy. It's a horrible story. Okay, so that's where it was. And I'm going to tell you a funny story. So I knew Nick Pileggi was involved. And Nick Pileggi right now, I mean, to me, my goodness, Nick Pileggi is an icon, right? He's 92 years old. He wrote the book Wise Guy. And I called him. I called him a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday. And I had texted him. He didn't respond to me. I told him who I was. And I had sent him the press release that we did from the Italian American Civil Rights League where we condemned the show. Now, Nick Pileggi is one of the executive producers. He's one of the bosses on this show. Okay, and I find out more, by the way. So wow. Nick Pileggi and I have a connection in common. So there was a little lady by the name of Mary Sansone who was like the godmother of politics in Brooklyn at the time. And I happened to know her. She was very, very close with Rudy Giuliani in the old days. And she really took me under her wing when I was a young lawyer. And her and Nick Pileggi went up against Joe Colombo in the Italian American Civil Rights League. And then ultimately they joined forces because she was kind of like the political godmother in Brooklyn. Joe Colombo was the leader of the Italian American Civil Rights League. And Nick Pileggi was somewhere involved in all of that. So we had a friend in common. We had a situation in common. And that's what I told him. So he knew, when I called him, he knew exactly who I was. We talked a little bit about Mary Sansone. She has passed away since then. Her husband, Zach, passed away. So he says to me, kid, he goes, you got a lot of balls. I got to give it to you, but you're not going to go anywhere. He goes, the Italians, they're not strong like they used to be. You can't get Italians together to protest. It's not like the old days. It's not like the Joe Colombo days where you can get 500 people to protest in front of the FBI building or something like that. He goes, look, you're wasting your time. What you're doing is great, but it's a waste of time. The Italians, they're not organized. They're not there anymore. And this is an Italian American. And in my opinion, Nick Pileggi is an Italian Uncle Tom. Okay, because instead of protecting the rights of Italian Americans, he's exploiting Italian Americans, okay? And he said to me, he basically laughed at us. And he says, the Italians are not organized anymore. You guys can't get anybody to go and protest. The Italians are finished. And you would think I'm talking to somebody who hates Italian Americans, okay?
Right.
And it became apparent that Pileggi was the guy, and this is his MO, mind you. Pileggi was the guy that brought Gravano out of the shadows, out of YouTube, right? And is going to take his story and bring it to the mainstream. So Pileggi, being a producer or executive producer on the FX show, was really the bridge that brought Gravano to Kaplan Entertainment, or Aaron Kaplan. Okay, and this is what he does. So Pileggi, kind of like a Mario Puzo type, when he wrote the book Wise Guy, he ultimately made the book into the movie Goodfellas. So he's basically laughing at us. He's like, you got a lot of balls, kid, but this is not going to go anywhere. You're not going to stop Sammy the Bull Gravano from doing this FX show.
Gerard, did he even blink an eye to the families of the 19 victims that will have to sit through this?
And so then he says to me, the mob is not like it used to be. The mob is not strong. I said, Nick, this has got nothing to do with the mob. This has got nothing to do with Sammy the Bull Gravano cooperating. This has got nothing to do with the mob. This is about victims. This is about people that lost their family members. And I mentioned your brother. I said, listen, I represent the family of Alan Kaiser. That kid was an innocent kid. And he brushed me off. He brushed me off. And he did not care.
Ask him how he would feel if it was his child.
Right.
Joy, how does that make you feel when you see producers trying to profit off of the death of your brother? How does that make you feel?
It's very hurtful to know that there are people that will just step on dead bodies to earn some money. Well, they don't care about hurting families. They don't care about what happened in the past. I can't tell you. I can't stand this man. I beg God every day, please do something with him. Let him get lost. This way I could go on with my life. I could be happy, and I don't have to grieve every day of my life.
Well, there's no closure. You guys never had any closure.
No closure. I want closure for me. I want closure even for my husband, and I want closure for my mother who died without the closure that she did deserve.
So
she deserved that closure.
So he never paid for the crime in terms of criminal justice.
No.
And now he walks around like a peacock and makes money off of it, off an innocent child.
They have the red carpet out for him. Yeah. He's going to win an Oscar next.
Well, look, I think that's your message to the producers, to Aaron Kaplan, Nick Pileggi, Terrence Winter, Anton Fuqua. These are all big names.
Yes, shame on them. Let them hear it. Shame on them. If it was one of their kids, children, their sibling, shame on them. They should only feel how I feel for the last 47 years. That's it. 47 years of hell. Now I'm allowed to get mad.
You are, and I think you're very subdued. I think you're very elegant, and I think you should. I think you're very restrained in your pain. I do, and I really do, and it's okay. It's okay to get mad because you should be mad. I think the public should be mad. I'm mad.
It's not only what he did when he was a gangster, right? But like you said, he goes to Arizona after getting the best deal ever to be given to anybody in any on the planet Earth.
Right.
I've never seen
in the history of criminal law. Absolutely,
in the
correct.
history of he gets go on with your life, and he goes out and pimps his wife, his daughter, and his son with pills.
Yeah.
I'm a gangster again. I'm the ringleader. I mean, terrible. That's the person they're gonna hang their coattails on and say, "Let's go make a movie. Let's make this guy a star."
It's blood money. It's in my opinion, Tom. It's blood money, and in my opinion, anybody who's going to work with him on a project should really think twice.
Low as he is.
They should do a project they should do a biography about your brother, as opposed to wasting their time with a piece of garbage like that. So that's that's our opinion as well. But
he was your brother who was a child was killed in 1977 this summer. That was the summer of Sam, correct?
Yes. Right.
Can you imagine if the son of Sam was out of prison on YouTube, walking around with a T-shirt with the number of victims and working with Mr. Kaplan and Mr. Pileggi? Can you imagine that?
Elio, son of Sam and who's the other guy? Charles Manson didn't kill as many people as Gravano. Mm. Yet he got a free pass. These guys, one died in jail, the other one's going to die in jail.
Right.
They gave him a free pass. He killed more people than both of them combined. How do they justify that? Are they that bad, the FBI? They couldn't get John Gotti, supposed to be the crime boss, the biggest criminal in the country, and they can't put him in jail. They needed to give this guy this deal.
Well, they didn't, in my opinion, legally speaking, they didn't need Sammy the Bull Gravano to testify against Gotti. In that trial, Gotti was heard on tape, basically confessing to crimes. You're not beating
my mind.
Right. You're not beating your voice.
Give him such a deal?
It's the hypocrisy of the government, where the government wants to get somebody so bad. Okay, they want to get that. They wanted to get that family, and then it went from John Gotti to then John Gotti Jr. and along the line. And I even represented a grandson.
The nephew.
I represented a grandson of John Gotti in a local Queens case that the kid really needed help. He didn't need to go to jail. And I can tell you, a prosecutor said to me, "Whose son is this? Is this John's son or is this Peter's son?" I said, "Well, this is Peter's son." He goes, "Oh, you're lucky, because if it was John's son, the offer would be double." And the kid got like 7 years.
Wow.
And co-defendants on the case got like a year, 2 years. Probation, things like that. And my client this is a couple of years back, but he got about 7 years, the kid, where he needed help. Okay, It was a drug case, all right? It was all public, and it was a case where the boy needed help. He didn't need to he was stuck in the Tombs in Manhattan with under horrendous conditions. And the kid, tough as nails, did his time like a man, like standing on his head, but it's not the point. I've had prosecutors tell me directly oh, if this was John's son, he would get 12 years, not 6 years or 7 years. Well, it was only Peter's son, so it's not as bad. But he's still a Gotti, so we're gonna have to. So that just goes to show you what. That's what I see, almost on a daily basis, still in the system. So it's like, yeah, people say, well, Italians are not prejudiced against, or there's no prejudice against Italians. That's not true. It happens every day. The problem is that we're not united enough to say enough. We're not united enough to say no more. You know, our league, the Italian American Civil Rights League, we're all about culture. We're all about Italian food, right? But we're also activists. And we're really the only organization in the country that takes action to protect the rights of Italian Americans, to protect the rights of anybody, to be quite honest with you. It doesn't matter if you're Italian or not. We protect the innocent. We protect the weak. Okay, we protect the exploited, and that's what we do. And it just so happened that we met, all of us, and really you had the strength and you had the courage to say, Gerard, whatever you do, I want to be on the forefront. I want to be the front of this fight. And I salute you. I thank you. I really, really thank you guys for speaking so candidly. And
I thank you for taking it on.
Yeah, look, we're not, I think someone absolutely has to do it. And again, this is not about the mob. This is not even about Gravano cooperating. This has got nothing to do with, you know, what people think in the mafia. It's got nothing to do with that. It's a question of, it's just not the right thing.
Right.
It's just not the right thing to do. Aaron Kaplan should not be behind Sammy the Bull Gravano to make a show that's really, in essence, it's blood money. Okay, and it just makes Italian Americans look horrible, and it just opens up wounds that should not be opened. This guy should be if he has a podcast, and I told this to Jerry Capisi. Jerry Capisi came back and said, you know, Gravano said about you and this and that. It's got nothing to do with my clients. It's got nothing to do. I'm a criminal defense attorney. Okay, I represent the weak. I represent people that are accused of crimes. All right, and that's what we do every single day. Right, we're protectors. Okay. I mean, it's got nothing to do with the mob. It's got nothing to do with anything. It has to do with the right thing. He's not doing the right thing. It's just a bad thing. Why? Talk about anything. And I said, if you're going to have a YouTube channel, use your platform for good. Use your platform to send a positive message, not to just reiterating the same shit that you've been talking about for the last, 20 years or so. And you just keep telling the same stories. So, look, I'm angry as well. There's a lot of support behind us. A lot of support behind. In fact, everybody that I talk to is behind us. You have to be really out of your mind not to support your family and to support this cause. But the FX show must not go forward.
Joe, I have a question for you. On YouTube, in the mob genre, a lot of podcasters have criticized Gravano, considering your brother was an innocent child. Have you ever seen Gravano show an ounce of remorse about what happened to your family?
No, not at all. He like we said, he tried to, but then it backfired. That's when he called my brother a junkie. He ran towards him.
Committed suicide.
He committed suicide. It started out all nice, and then it just went sour.
No, he tried to make it sound like
he was remorseful.
Was apologizing, but it was just a tirade and then he blamed the Gottis. He said that the Gottis put us up coming on and complaining about him, that he killed a brother. I mean, he don't know what to say next. I hope you guys, I appreciate that you guys are doing what you're doing. Elio, Gerard, I thank you. And I hope that these producers and the people that are behind this FX show, I hope they see this podcast and they come up with a different opinion. They look into their hearts and say, what if it was me or my family?
Exactly.
Or my little brother?
Just to do the right thing.
How would I feel?
Yeah, just to do the right thing.
Just clarify, because it's not clear what you said. He said the Gottis are getting the podcasters to criticize you?
He claimed that the Gottis put us up to going after Gravano. In other words, for us to go on
it's got nothing to do with
be interviewed and say Gravano's a bad guy, he killed my innocent brother. He's saying the Gottis put us up to doing that. I never met John Gotti before.
Yeah, no, it's got nothing to do with the Gotti family whatsoever. This is Italian American Civil Rights League, leading the charge to protect your family and get justice for your brother, and that's it. And not only get justice for your brother, get justice for Laura Garofalo's dad, Dina Melito's dad.
Yes.
All the victims, and no life is worth more or less than anyone else's. Every life taken is a shame.
And for Dina Melito to walk around and having her father blamed for something that Sammy did, I feel bad.
Yes, yeah, and they're good girls. They're good people.
It's not fair.
I can't believe he had the audacity to think that you wouldn't be defending your little brother who passed away, that you would be doing this over some media figure from the 80s that you never met.
Yeah.
That is so sick. Shame on these enablers, Pileggi, Kaplan. Can't you see the psychopath you're dealing with?
Well, look, let me
Can't
tell
they
you
have
something.
some morals or ethics?
Let me tell you, we're coming. We're coming, okay? And I can tell you, Nick Pileggi, he laughed. He emboldened us. Okay, Nick Pileggi.
He's gonna laugh.
Yeah, Nick Pileggi, in my opinion, is an Italian Uncle Tom. He's a disgrace to Italian Americans. He's iconic. He's iconic in the entertainment industry. But his MO is to take, a Henry Hill, who was an informer, but Henry Hill never killed anybody. Henry Hill was not involved to that extent. He was a drug addict type of guy. He was an East New York guy. My mom's from East New York, and he made a movie about it. He made Goodfellas. This is not that.
That was a great movie.
It was a great movie, and this is not that. But behind, in his philosophy to make fun of his own people is a disgrace, a disgraziado. And that's really the answer. Nick Pileggi, in my opinion, is disgraziado. And Aaron Kaplan, he's not Italian, but he's a disgraziado too. So if he's going to keep going with this project, okay, then we're not going to stop going after them. Because you know what? I'm never going to get Sammy the Bull Gravano to change his mind, okay? But in life, you got to fight fire with water sometimes, okay? And I'm going to make it known that to all the good people that he's involved with, all these talented entertainment people, I want them to know the type of person, the type of devil that they're involved with, and then they can make a decision. But they have to live with that decision. So is it for money, or is it the right thing to do? Okay, and I think they should do the right thing. They should do the right thing by the victims. They should do the right thing by your family. They should do the right thing by your brother, his memory, and that's how we feel. And I tell you one thing: we're coming, and we're not going away.
An individual like Kaplan must have hundreds of proposals every day for shows. Why would he pick the one that exploits the death of a child? That is so ridiculous. Aren't there other projects he can invest in that are pure, that don't have to inflict emotional distress on innocent people?
Yes, more pain, play with your head thing,
It's bad enough that we have to have this guy on TV getting interviewed with certain things. They go ask him, or he's on his YouTube wearing the 19 shirt and stuff. He hasn't gone away. This has been going on for almost 50 years. Right. And now it's going to be even worse, brought to your attention even more. But, I mean...
Well, that's exactly the thing. That's the whole point. Listen, he's been around on YouTube for a long time, many, many years, but now he's coming to the forefront. Now he's really in Hollywood. Okay, so now YouTube is a YouTube is a subculture. Okay, but when he breaches that threshold of going into Hollywood, so to speak, quote unquote, and goes on to a national network, FX network, and says his story, he's going to come to the forefront, and the public doesn't know the truth, and the public has to know the truth about him. They got to boycott him as a brand. They got to boycott anybody behind the show, and I think their talents are much better utilized in positive products and telling. And I got to tell you, and I told Nick Pileggi, I said, he says, the Italians, they're not strong, and the mob is, I said, this has nothing to do with them. What are you talking about? I said, the pen is mightier than the sword. The pen is mightier than the sword, okay? And we've got hundreds of members behind us. You have so many people behind you guys. I represent hundreds of members, the Italian American Civil Rights League, good Italian people that want to see justice for your brother, that want to see the right thing for Italian American people. So we're coming. And we're going to be a train, and no one's going to stop us. I tell you that right now, okay? And I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get this show stopped and to educate the world and educate the public.
Enjoy.
If there's a number I could call, I'll call them and tell them.
Well, you did. You just did. You're gonna your video is gonna be a message to Nick Pileggi, Aaron Kaplan, Sammy the Gravano, and they can do what they want with it. If they don't want to listen, then that's on them. That's on their ethics and that's on their morals. That's on their soul and not on yours.
And Joy,
Yes.
I know the FBI betrayed you by not coming and letting you know what happened, and now you have these individuals that are enabling Gravano. But no, the Italian American Civil Rights League and any decent American who hears this story will be on your side. You have good on your side. You'll have justice on your side, and any person that's pure will support you. You're not alone. They just need to hear the story. And these enablers, shame on them for enabling.
Absolutely.
It's impossible to shame Gravano, who's killed 19 people, because he has no
You can't
shame.
shame a guy that's got no shame.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. No. And I'm not, Gerard Marrone, a lawyer from Queens, is not going to stop him.
Yes.
Okay? It's not happening. But, like I said, the way to fight fire is with water. And I'm going to extinguish the momentum. I'm going to extinguish his flame. Okay? And I'm not afraid. I don't care who's going to come for me. I'm from the same streets as him. He's from Brooklyn. I'm from Queens. And I have the same scars that he has. So there's no fear here. I'm going to do the right thing until I can't do it no more.
Thank
Right
you.
on.
All right?
Thank you.
All right. You guys go. We're talking a long time. Go rest. I appreciate you guys so much.
I forgot what time it was.
I know. I love you guys. And thank you so much.
And enjoy.
Rod, Elio,
Thank you, guys.
Take care.
I really appreciate it.
Guys.
pleasure.
Thank you. Let's get this going. We got to do the right thing. We'll get this guy to
Absolutely.
stop it.
All right,
Thank
guys.
you.
Good night.
Have
Good
a
night.
good night.
Bye. Good
Yeah.
luck with everything. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So here you have it, guys. That's we're very honored with Joy and Tom Faraci. There's nothing to say. I mean, we're going to do the right thing. We're going to do the right thing for the family. We're going to do the right thing for their memory. And I think we had a very strong message for this project tonight. We had a very strong message for the people that were behind this project: Aaron Kaplan, Nick Pileggi, Antoine Fuqua, Terrence Winters, who I hear they're all good people. But I think they're misinformed with the person that they're dealing with. And there's got to be an empathy. There's got to be a level of accountability for the crimes, okay? And if you're going to put a piece of media out into the world, you got to take responsibility for it. You have to take into consideration the families that are involved. It's not one murder. It's not two murders. It's 19 murders. And like I said, the ramifications of Gravano'S actions have affected thousands of people. Not hundreds, thousands of wives and daughters and sons and grandchildren, that their lives will never ever be the same again. And a lot of it was based on greed. It was senseless. Gravano cannot blame anybody for the Kaiser homicide other than himself. He can put the gun in Louis Melito's hands, which is not true, and the government knows it's not true. The gun was in his hands. He was looking for retribution, for a fight, for getting beat up and breaking his foot a couple of days before, and he ran into Alan Kaiser and he shot him in the head, and it was the wrong guy. It was purely a case of mistaken identity.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of RICO cases, and in my belief, one of the top criminal lawyers in the city. My question for you is, because you had to defend all these cases, and you had to research cases from the past, have you ever heard of a organized crime figure from any ethnic group killing a child?
Look, I'm sure there's innocent victims in the past, right? There's been organized crime in this country since the early 1900s, maybe even before. And I'm sure there's been an innocent person killed in crossfire. It happens, unfortunately, every day. But the point is that don't exploit that, okay? It's unfortunate. Take accountability for it. Do your time. But don't exploit the fact that you killed somebody. You killed anybody for that matter, let alone somebody innocent. okay, and don't twist it to for profit. And you know, I think it's a microcosm almost of what's really wrong with this country in a lot of ways. It's what's wrong perhaps even with the entertainment industry. You can't be a whore for money. You can't be a whore for a project, right? People that are in the entertainment world that are given this talent, right? They've got to use the talent for good. They've got to use the power for good. They can't partner with human trash. People that affected the lives of it's just not the right thing. Okay, and time will tell what happens next. But like I told Joy and I told Tom and Elio's with me, he's right next to me. We're coming. The Italian American Civil Rights League is coming. We're not stopping. We're not afraid. And we're going to do the right thing for that family. We're going to do the right thing for all the families that were involved. And we protect anybody who needs to be protected, because that's what we are. We're protectors.
Well, thank you, Gerard, for inviting me on as a guest.
It's my pleasure, man. I appreciate you. You know this case very well. You've dealt with a lot of organized crime work. You've got a lot of guts yourself. You've taken on a lot of informants. I know even you've been threatened in the past by people, but we don't stop, Elio. You're a Marine. I'm tough, you know. But ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here tonight. I hope you found this very informative. What I would ask is that you share this video, because this video is special. Okay, we had very, very special people on here. A family that was really hesitant to come on and tell their story. Joy is very, very brave, very courageous to even do this. This was a lot for her to do tonight. I can tell you, her children were very concerned. I spoke to one of her daughters. Her daughter wanted to know what was going on, what was my mom going to say, what was going to happen. And I have the utmost respect for the family. I have the utmost respect for all the families that were involved. But the fact that Joy really, really took the reins, and she said in our initial meeting with the league, I'm going to be the forefront of this, and I'm going to take the lead. And it's time, and it is time. It's time that we send a strong message out there to people that don't do the right thing, that make Italian Americans look bad, and exploit us. So, good night, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for watching.